Microeconomics and Overview. Hello kids, welcome to the only museum of economics called World of Economics. I am Shane. It's been 20 years now since I have been with the world of economics. I started off as an intern when I was about your age, and my interest only kept on growing as I learnt more about economics. Let me take you to a small part of the world of economics, which features aspiring youngsters as you all also. Let's begin with the basics of economics. Economics is branched into two main parts, microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics is a branch of economics that studies the behavior of how individual modern households and firms make decisions to allocate limited resources. Macroeconomics compares a country with the world. Against this, microeconomics talks about a small component of a country. Unlike macroeconomics, which deals with studies on a larger scale, microeconomics deals on a smaller scale. Various societies in a country need to use goods and services in their daily lives, including food, clothing, shelter, transport facilities like roads and railways, postal services, and various other services like that of teachers and doctors. For example, a teacher can earn money by teaching students in a school or education institutions and use the earning for obtaining the goods and services she wants. The laborer also can try to fulfill his needs by using whatever money he can earn by working for someone else. Each individual can thus use his or her resources to fulfill their own needs. It goes without saying that no individual has unlimited resources compared to their needs. For example, if a family wants to own a bigger house, it may have to give up the idea of having a few more acres of arable land. If they want more and better education for the children, they may have to give up some of the luxuries of life. The same is the case with all other individuals in society. Everyone faces scarcity of resources and therefore has to use the limited resources in the best possible way to fulfill her needs. In general, every individual in a society is engaged in the production of some goods or services, and she wants a combination of many goods and services, not all of which are produced by herself. Needless to say that there has to be some compatibility between what people in society collectively want to have and what they produce. As you can see, just as resources of an individual are scarce, resources of the society are also scarce in comparison to what all the people in the society might collectively want to have. The scarce resources of the society have to be allocated properly in production of different goods and services, keeping in mind the likes and dislikes of the people of the society. In India, the agricultural sector has a society of farmers who have very limited resources and limited earnings. The country has also to look into this section to provide relief to them with the help of loans that are cheap. An example for the same. Isn't it fun to explore about your family and how people survive in this big world?
Yes, Shane.
Great! If anyone needs any clarification, do not hesitate to ask at any point of time. Thus, we can say that microeconomics also deals with the effects of national economic policies, such as changing taxation levels on certain aspects of the economy. So, how did you find the journey so far?
Very good.
Now let's move on to the central problems of an economy. Production, exchange, and consumption of goods and services are among the basic economic activities of life. In the course of these basic economic activities, every society has to face scarcity of resources, and it is the scarcity of resources that give rise to the problem of choice. The scarce resources of an economy have competing usages. In other words, every society has to decide on how to use its scarce resources. In general, the central problems of an economy can be summarized as 1. What to produce and the respective quantity required. 2. How to produce. 3. For whom to produce. Let's talk about the first problem. What to produce and how much to produce. Every society must decide on the quantity of each of the several possible goods and services they will produce. They face several problems of choices like whether to produce more of food, clothing, housing, that is, basic necessities of life, or to produce more of luxurious goods. To produce more of agricultural goods or industrial goods and services. To use more resources in education and health, or to use more resources in building military services. To invest more in basic education or higher education. To produce more of consumption goods or investment goods, like a machine, which will boost production and consumption in the future. The second problem is how to produce or how are these goods produced. Each society has to decide on the quantity of the resources to be used in the production of each of the different goods and services. Whether to use more labor or more machines. Which of the technologies to adopt in the production of each of these goods. The third problem, for whom is production carried out? That is, how should the production of the economy be distributed among individuals in the economy? Who gets more and who gets less? Whether or not to ensure a minimum amount of consumption for everyone in the economy. Whether or not elementary education and basic health services should be available freely for everyone in the economy. Thus, every economy faces the problem of allocating the scarce resources to the production of different possible goods and services, and of distributing the produced goods and services among the individuals within the economy. The allocation of the limited resources and the distribution of the final mix of goods and services are two of the basic economic challenges faced by the society. Are you guys fine so far?
Yes, Shane.
All right. Moving to the next and the most interesting topic called the production possibility frontier. An allocation of the scarce resource of the economy gives rise to a particular combination of different goods and services. Given the total amount of resources, it is possible to allocate the resources in many different ways, and therefore achieving different mixes of all possible goods and services. The collection of all possible combinations of the goods and services that can be produced from a given amount of resources and a given stock of technological knowledge is called the production possibility set of the economy. For example, consider an economy which can produce corn or cotton by using all its resources. Table 1 gives some of the combinations of corn and cotton that the economy can produce. If all the resources are used in the production of corn, the maximum amount of corn that can be produced is 4 units. Conversely, if all the resources are used in the production of cotton, at the most, 10 units of cotton can be produced. Figure 1 illustrates the production possibilities of the economy. Any point on or below the curve represents a combination of corn and cotton that can be produced with the economy's resources. The curve gives the maximum amount of corn that can be produced in the economy for any given amount of cotton and vice versa. This curve is called the production possibility frontier. The production possibility frontier gives the combinations of corn and cotton that can be produced when the resources of the economy are fully utilized. Any point lying strictly below the production possibility frontier represents a combination of corn and cotton that will be produced when all or some of the resources are either underemployed or are utilized in a wasteful manner. If more of the scarce resources are used in the production of corn, less resources are available for the production of cotton and vice versa. Therefore, if we want to have more of one of the goods, we will have less of the other goods. Thus, there is always a cost of having a little more of one good in terms of the amount of the other good that has to be foregone. This is known as the opportunity cost of an additional unit of the goods. There are 2 properties of production possibility frontier. 1. It slopes downward to the right. 2. It is concave to the point of origin. I hope all the information is simple for you all to understand. Please feel free to stop me anytime. Is it clear so far?
Yes, Shin!
We know that there are more than one ways of solving the central problems of an economy. These different mechanisms in general are likely to give rise to different solutions to those problems, thereby resulting in different allocations of the resources and also different distributions of the final mix of goods and services produced in the economy. Therefore, it is important to understand which of these alternative mechanisms is more desirable for the economy as a whole. In economics, we try to analyze the different mechanisms and figure out the outcomes which are likely to result under each of these mechanisms. We also try to evaluate the mechanisms by studying how desirable the outcomes resulting from them are. Often a distinction is made between positive economic analysis and normative economic analysis, depending on whether we are trying to figure out how a particular mechanism functions or we are trying to evaluate it. In positive economic analysis, we study how the different mechanisms function, and in normative economics, we try to understand whether these mechanisms are desirable or not. However, this distinction between positive and normative economic analysis is not a very sharp one. The positive and the normative issues involved in the study of the central economic problems are very closely related to each other, and a proper understanding of one is not possible in isolation to the other. Now that everything is clear and we have reached the end, let me ask you a question. Are you all ready?
No!
Don't worry, it will not be too difficult. Can someone tell me what you understand by the term microeconomics?
Microeconomics is a branch of economics that studies the behavior of how the individual, households, and firms make decisions to distribute limited and scarce resources.
Excellent work! Here, you earned yourself an expensive imported chocolate.
Thanks, Shane.
You are most welcome. Now let me end the journey by giving you a quick recap in a nutshell. Before you all move out of the museum, let me summarize the tour for you. Microeconomics is a branch of economics that studies the behavior of how the individual modern household and firms make decisions to allocate limited resources. Each individual can thus use his or her resources to fulfill their needs. It goes without saying that no individual has unlimited resources compared to their needs. There has to be some compatibility between what people in society collectively want to have and what they produce. In general, the central problems of an economy are summarized as 1. What to produce and the respective quantity required. 2. How to produce. 3. For whom to produce. The collection of all possible combinations of the goods and services that can be produced from a given amount of resources and a given stock of technological knowledge is called the production possibility set of the economy. There is always a cost of having a little more of one good in terms of the amount of the other good that has to be foregone. This is known as the opportunity cost of an additional unit of the goods. When we try to evaluate the mechanisms by studying how desirable the outcomes resulting from them are, often a distinction is made between positive economic analysis and normative economic analysis, depending on whether we are trying to figure out how a particular mechanism functions or we are trying to evaluate it. Bye all. It was nice to meet you all. Have a nice day and highly positive economic lives.
Bye, Shane. Thanks a lot. It was great to meet you too.